whispers on the city street, shadows creeping where the lost souls meet. But I hear wings, yeah, cutting through the air, invisible armies, they're everywhere. Gold halos guarding while the world spins wrong, protecting hearts where the weak grow strong. They're posted up, silent like a stone, but I know I'm never alone. He sends his angels, his mighty crew. They got my back, they're seeing me through. Wings of light, yeah. They break the dark, he sends his angels to shield my heart. When the storm roars and the night's so cold, I feel their warmth like stories told. Feathers brushing past my doubt and fear, a holy presence always near. They block the arrows, they light the way, they guard my soul through the hardest day. No cape, no mask, no comic book scene, just heaven's soldiers, unseen but keen. Who's that whisper when I'm falling low? Who's that holding me when the pain won't go? Who's that shouting when the fight gets loud? Angels of God breaking through the crowd. Who's that whisper when I'm falling low? Who's that holding me when the pain won't go? Who's that shouting when the fight gets loud? Angels of God breaking through the crowd. Intended ghosts, is my tomb crew. They got my back, they're seeing me through. Wings of light, wings of light. They break the dark, he sends his angels to shield my heart.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to technically Into the Red Rabbit Hole, but I'm doing something a little different tonight. I'm going to do it at least once a month, and I'm trying to decide on a day to do it, so I figured why not tonight. So it is called, the new podcast is Shout Into the Void. Okay, now that being said, this is a pod, the viewing and chat family. Okay, so we do this one or two ways. Either bring you on, we can hide your face, okay, and you can tell your story, or you can show your face and tell your story of any supernatural encounters, whether it's angelic, whether it's whatever you want to call it, okay? I'm giving you all the opportunity to come on and talk about it, because we see and hear so much on social media about the negative, about the darkness, about the monsters, about the people missing and all that. Maybe it's about time we start talking about the light that the world has to offer and that the Creator has to offer. So that's why I did the whole new intro. I'm going to probably play that song again, just the song, not the video, so you all can listen to the full lyrics in it and understand where I'm coming from. And then I will, and all the opinions on this podcast are my own coming out of my mouth. So that being said, I'm going to play the song again, and just the song in the background, okay, so you all can hear it. And I want you to listen to the lyrics of the song, okay, because it says a lot about what I'm trying to pull off here, okay? And you all time, okay? And I have been researching bloodlines, the fallen, you name it, okay? Everything, every aspect of supernatural. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to play the song one more time on audio only, and I'm going to, after that, do the disclaimer, and we're going to get into it, okay, guys? So you can let Roxanne or Urso know, the moderators, the order you want to come on, and they'll let Eric know, and I'll bring Eric on as soon as the song is done and all that, and we'll get into the disclaimer, like I said, and everything else, okay? So be patient. Okay, let me play that song again. Sorry, my computer is really slow tonight. I don't know what's going on. Of course, it figures. Okay, here we go. Now listen to the lyrics again. And this is a song I just developed and created actually the other day, yesterday.
Midnight whispers on the city street, shadows creeping where the lost souls meet, but I hear wings, yeah, cutting through the air, invisible armies, they're everywhere. Gold halos guarding while the world spins wrong, protecting hearts where the weak grow strong. They're posted up, silent like a stone, but I know I'm never alone. He sends his angels, his mighty crew. They got my back, they're seeing me through. Wings of light, yeah. They break the dark, he sends his angel to shield my heart. When the storm roars and the night's so cold, I feel their warmth like stories told. Feathers brushing past my doubt and fear, a holy presence always near. They block the arrows, they light the way, they guard my soul through the hardest day. No cape, no mask, no comic book scene, just heaven soldiers, unseen but keen. Who's that whisper when I'm falling low? Who's that holding me when the pain won't go? Who's that shouting when the fight gets loud? Angels of God breaking through the crowd. Who's that whisper when I'm falling low? Who's that holding me when the pain won't go? Who's that shouting when the fight gets loud? Angels of God breaking through the crowd. Intended Joe is my tomb crew. They got my back, they're seeing me through. Wings of light, wings of light. They break the dark, he sends his angels to shield my heart.
Well, you all get the gist of this song, and I hope you actually got the lyrics of that song. The majority of supernatural occurrences are questionable. Some interactions can be demonic, some can be angelic. To me, there is really not much of a difference other than motivation or aggressive nature. Okay. To me, there is divine and then you have angelic. Okay. Which to me are two, in my opinion, are two totally different things. Okay. And I'll get further into that later on tonight. I had invited Dr. Dennis Carroll to come on and talk about some of his supernatural encounters. So hopefully, if he's in the chat, the link is already in the chat. I put it in the beginning. So I'm going to get into the disclaimers and we're going to talk. Okay. So, as always, I claim fair use of any and all content under the Copyright Act of 1976, and that makes allowances for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, and let's not forget the entertainment value under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known herein as the fair use. Furthermore, I wish to acknowledge that not all the opinions and theories mentioned during the podcast are not necessarily the opinions or views of Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel and or AKA William Nighthawk, myself. But my opinion's my opinion. I'll let you know when it's my opinion. We at Nighthawk High Strangeness YouTube channel and Facebook channels merely bring the open format to discuss the possibilities of topics happening in the past, present, and future. Please join the Nighthawk High Strangeness YouTube channel family by subscribing, and please hit that like button and join the chat family, being respectful, and please put all questions in capital letters. Thank you. Okay, let me get that off of there for everybody. If I can find it here. There we go. Okay. And we are going to discuss some things tonight that that are very, very unique. I'm going to bring Eric on. Hopefully this will make my picture a little larger by bringing him on. Nope, it'll make both of us small. That's okay. That's good. That'll be fine. I like small. Small is good sometimes, guys. So let's see here. We are going to get into bada bing, bada boom. Angels. So, anybody that has any type of a supernatural encounter they want to talk about, let's go ahead and get the list made up, and we will bring you on. And like I said, you don't have to face. Okay, this is merely a run to see how it goes. And in fact, I may change the Sunday morning show to this format. Okay, so I just figured it'd be a good subject matter to talk about tonight, especially with all the negativity and stuff that's on the internet and the news and all that. I think that this format for right now is a go. Eric, how are you doing tonight, brother?
Trying to figure out why I can barely hear you. I heard your music just fine, but I can barely hear you, so I'm still trying to fix whatever's going on here.
Okay. Anybody else having problems hearing me? It could be my voice. You know, I have that hard time talking and breathing at the same time. Let me know in the chat.
Yeah, it's like, for me, you're like really faint. Your music was clear as day, but for some reason your voice is like really faint. I may have to get another set of headphones. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, it's on my end. What the heck is going on with this thing?
Thank you, Roxanne. Okay. Well, it's good to see Roxanne and Urso and Corey and everybody in the chat and Joanne. Who else we got in there? We got Dis Heifer, good to see you in there. Okay, who else we got? I know we got more people. Come on now. Everybody's hiding and being shy. Don't want to come on. There's Josh. Good to see you, Josh. I hope you're doing good. All right, let's see. David, good to see you. Jason, good to see you in there. Always good to have Jason in there. Now, has anybody ever had an angelic encounter? Okay, and I'm that's good to know, Josh. Thank you, man. I was you know, everybody's having these physical scares lately, and you know, that's another reason I wanted to talk about this stuff tonight too, to kind of get out of that negativity. Daryl, good to see you. But my question to everybody, we all know my background, okay, and we know about my near-death experiences and all that, and what I encountered, and we all know that I suffer from, well, I have suffered from multiple cancers over the last 5 years or so, which should have killed me technically already. Which I don't know. I haven't really come to the conclusion that I'm even alive still. So that being said, you know, my experience with the supernatural might have started out in a dark place, but you know, it has escalated to the point where I don't even know how to describe it to everybody, but for the most part, in my opinion, what a lot of people are experiencing and seeing in the skies, especially at night, including celestial events, like a certain, you know, meteorite that's said to be coming. Um, to me, those are angelic type of encounters. Okay, to me, they are not everything's a UFO or an alien. Let's put it that way. Okay. Um, I think what we're seeing a lot in the nighttime sky and experiencing could be portals opening up from another dimension, as we call dimensions and parallel worlds. Maybe the biblical aspect of it is the heavens, plural. Okay. So keeping that in mind while we talk about this tonight. We all know that I'm a big believer in the divine entities, the ones that are here to help out humanity and the Creator's grace, by doing what He says to do. And we also know that not every angelic being is is good. Okay. And that needs to be said. Okay. Um, I've played a clip a couple times already, this past year, and you know, it talks about, you know, it's from the Confessional podcast, and it's if you're not following the podcast, I do, you know, and they put out some good formats and stuff, and I'm just really impressed with what this guy says in about 2.5 minutes about the angelic beings coming down as giants, being coming down as astronomical figures, like, you know, Pisces and Cancer and all that, and coming down out of the sky and morphing into a human form. Okay. One of the questions I have tonight for everybody while I'm playing this 2.5 minute video again, which I'm thoroughly just fascinated with to listen about the giant, footprint and all that. Is what do you think about the possibilities of certain people you encounter just out of nowhere that seem to almost appear in your space where you're at, being possibly angelic or a divine being manifesting in human form? So I'm just curious to see what everybody thinks about that. Eric, I'm going to let you go ahead and get a list of people together that want to come on and talk tonight a little bit about any type of encounters that they had. I'm going to play this 2.5 minute video. I'm going to drink some coffee to try and clean out my airway, and then we'll get started, everybody, okay? Thank you for being patient with me too, by the way.
We've seen redonkulous things, right? So we go down to Chiapas, Mexico. We're rescuing kids down there. I mentioned that one that portaled through Zoom from Chiapas, right? So there's all kinds of next level demonic witchcraft, next level witchcraft down there. So things that manifest, you go, whoa, what is that? I never even heard of like a hybrid spider type person. And that's what all these kids say, man, she looks like a spider. She has many arms. Well, of course, if you go into India, you got all kinds of gods and deities that have multiple arms. The largest Mayan pyramid on the planet Earth is in Chiapas. We are rescuing children in the shadow of that thing. You can literally see the pyramid from my ranch.
Wow. From your ranch?
Yeah. We have a redemption ranch there.
Wow.
And again, we bought turf. We bought physical dirt. We brought in a ministry that's been there for 9 generations. We turned the whole thing over there so that we would have authority within that region. Okay. You don't just come in there swinging the American flag. You come in there in the authority of the kingdom, and you need to know how to operate in authority. So with all that said, we did all this. And at our hotel, there's this big giant rock that has a giant footprint in it. And it's monstrous. I went down there with Brian Schwartz. He's an NFL football player. He wears a size 17 shoe. Okay. This thing was twice the size of his shoe. I hear that you guys got giants down here. And they're like, yeah, we do. And like, okay, well, would they come up out of the ground? Or are they going to, like, yeah, they live in the ground. And they're like, but that's not as scary as the ones that come out of the sky. And I'm like, the ones that come out of the sky? And they said, yes. And they come down and they look like stars and constellations, and they manifest into what look like people. And they threaten us if we don't give them things.
Wow.
So it's like, I know that there's a species of angels that's called the host of heaven. The host of heaven is the constellations. So you can see that whenever Jesus was born, that the shepherds are out in the field, the angels came down as the host of heaven. Well, they were used to seeing those constellations every single night, and they were used to seeing Virgo, the virgin, a clump of stars that is a virgin that has a seed in her, which is impossible. And then from there, Libra, he's going to be a redeemer. From there, Scorpio, he's going to take on death. From there, Sagittarius, he's going to raise from the dead. And it ends at the line of the tribe of Judah, Leo, which is the ecliptic. And so I'm into all that, right? They knew the story in the heavens. The angels that showed up were as those constellations. They're also known as the stars of God. They're also known as the stars. I can guarantee you some of those have fallen. Some of those have rebelled. And they show up down there. The stars come down, they manifest, and all kinds of craziness happens.
Okay. Now, remember my question. He talks about the manifestation. I have always talked about manifestation. People think I'm crazy when I talk about manifestation. And what you don't understand is that when you get to the level of being able to manifest things, you're approaching a higher vibrational state of being. Your energies around your body are going to be a lot more stronger and powerful. You're going to be able to repel things and attract things. Okay. Almost, dare I say, angelic. Because remember, each of us has that divine spark within us. Now, I'm not saying everybody's an angel, okay? But what I'm saying is the soul that is given within us is an angelic piece, of that dimension, of that realm, of that higher state of being. Okay. And the rest was wiped away from our DNA. So we will never be able to interpret or to educate ourselves on the process of becoming more of that type of a higher dimensional being in this form. Okay. If that makes sense. Okay. What I'm saying. So, keep that in mind as we're talking tonight, guys. And I really want to bring some of you on one at a time, and we can talk about this because there are things in our world that are happening and occurring every single day, and a lot of people don't understand it, can't comprehend the powers that are out there because it's something that they don't experience, very often. Okay. And some people never will experience it or get that connection. Okay. So that being said, do we have anybody that wants to come on?
I haven't got anybody say anything in the comments yet.
Ah, so we got a bunch of slackers in the comment section that don't have any type of encounters whatsoever to talk about. Not even one. Okay, well, I'm going to start the conversation off. Okay, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me, my first cancer battle in the hospital when I was there by myself. Okay, and I was given the notification in the emergency room about 6 months to live. Okay, that was devastating news as it is to anybody. Okay, and I took that and had to swallow it and basically try to tell my family that everything was going to be okay. And as the ambulance ushered me from one hospital to the other, to the one that had the cancer center and the surgeons, in that during that ambulance ride, I encountered something while the paramedic was sitting next to me. And the one paramedic he kind of looked at me, and they were both guys. They were really super nice guys too. Very, very professional in what they were doing. But the one guy that was sitting back there with me, it was like something took over his body. Okay. And his eyes went charcoal in color. And he put his hand on my chest by my heart. And he said, everything's going to be okay. Now, was that an angelic being taking over him temporarily? Because after he said it, he went back to what he was normally doing, which was messing with the equipment back there and keeping the vital readings and stuff. He turned and his eyes were normal again. So that very same night, I met the nursing staff for the evening shift while everybody's sleeping. And there was this one time that was just seemed kind of odd to me. When you're laying there in the hospital bed and you're by yourself in a room that's dark and the doorway is lit up, sometimes your mind can play tricks on you, especially when you are stressed and freaked out about something. Okay, which I obviously was. And not really for my own my own personal um, outcome, but for the outcome of my family possibly losing me. Okay. And I've never really talked to anybody about this, but and my wife Tracy knows, and a couple clergymen around here know because I've talked about it before. But I never really went full detail into the experience. And I had a couple, I don't know even what they call them, angelic type of visitors, if that makes sense. Um, and what it was the first time the room lit up, okay, at the foot of my bed, and I could swear to God that on the silhouette that was on the wall was 6 wings, okay, and it was like they were spreading their wings out, and they were comforting me, okay. So I soon fell asleep. I didn't think anything of it. I pretty much chalked it up as pain medication and all this other stuff. And one thing led to another, and one thing led to another. And let me take this picture down. And there we go. And I fell asleep, and I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And I remember I turned to lay on my side. Okay. And they had already, had tubes and stuff in me. Not a feeding tube yet. That was the next morning I was having done. But I went to roll on my side a little bit, facing the doorway about 3 a.m. I remember. And there in the doorway, lit up by not only the ambient of the figure, but almost like a bioluminescent glow, was standing the figure of a female, probably, from what I gathered, probably mid 30s to late 40s in age, just standing there with a smile on her face. And in my mind, she said, "I'm Mary." And she said, "Don't worry, everything is going to be completely fine." And then she disappeared. And I mean, she literally became translucent, and the glow went away and disappeared. She didn't like turn and walk away. Okay. So, angels, do I believe in angels? Yes, I wholeheartedly do. Do I believe that there is a certain level to angels? Well, yes. Even the Bible describes there's certain levels of angelic beings. The Orphem, the seraphim, the cherub. They all have their own function in the levels of heaven. Okay, so that being said, certain encounters that we have with angelic beings, and it can be bad encounters and it can be good encounters, okay, because to me, angelic is a descriptionary thing of both the evil and the good of angels, okay. To me, the ultimate level is divine. Okay, it's that next level above angelic, where, say, the archangel level, if that makes sense. Okay. So that being said, I see Corey just got on. So let's go ahead and bring Corey on and have him talk about some of his encounters.
Hey, if I look like who is that? Gilbert Godfrey. My dog tackled me this morning, and I fell and broke my glasses, and I've had to squint to see. So I've been squinting all day, and I was cutting up some metal with a cutoff wheel, and got some metal in my eye. So it's been a hell of a day.
Eric, you realize your mic is muted?
Yeah, I muted it because I was doing some typing and I didn't want my typing to interrupt you. So I figured if I ain't talking, I'm just going to mute myself.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted you to know. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Corey, go ahead. What you got going on, brother?
You know, I don't think I've ever had like an angelic type of experience or an encounter. What I can tell you is I think I've had 2 demonic encounters for sure. The first one was a female type, I guess, demon. She told me who she was, and she gave me a name, and my best friend said, "Have you looked it up?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Look it up." And he goes, "What is it before you look it up?" And I told him. I found it. It was a genuine name, and I'd never heard it before. I'm not going to say it. What the hell? I ain't scared to say it. Nima or Nama was what she said.
Nama. Yeah, I've heard of Nama.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before. So I know I wasn't dreaming. I know I didn't dream this up, you know. But anyway, when she told me her name, I just laughed and rolled over and put my back to her and went back to sleep.
Yeah.
My second one was a little more intense. I sleep on my right side, or my left side, my right side up, and I've always got my arm against my ribs right here to the right, and my left arm under the pillow, and that's the only way I sleep. Sometimes I'll sleep on my back every now and then, but I sleep that way because I used to have sleep paralysis real bad. And if I slept on my side, it wasn't as bad. It didn't happen as often. But something grabbed me one night, and I know this ain't a dream, and it hooked me in my right arm and pulled either my spirit or my soul out of my body. And it's one of the only times I've ever called on the Jesus Christ for help. And
and what happened after you said the name?
Huh?
What happened
What's
after
that?
you said Jesus? What happened
It
after
let
you said
go.
Jesus?
It let go immediately.
Yep.
I'm talking about like that. When I turned to look to see what it looked like, it was gone. I never got to see it. But I mean, it happened so fast. It's crazy. But have you ever had sleep paralysis? Either one of y'all? Okay.
I haven't.
I have multiple times.
Okay, Eric, this was the complete opposite of sleep paralysis. You know how you feel held down? The sensation was opposite of that. And I guess I didn't panic. I did a little bit, but I was startled. But sleep paralysis has happened to me so much that this feeling really didn't disorient me or anything, and I had my wits about me. You know, I knew
No,
what was going on immediately. But the sensation from sleep paralysis, this was completely opposite of that. It's like falling and flying straight up, ascending and descending. Felt the same way, but I recognized it, and I knew what to do immediately. And it pulled me to my feet from a sleeping position to a standing position, straight out of bed and straight up.
So what do you think its reasoning was to affect you in that manner?
I have no idea. Stuff like this happens so often. I really don't think about that. I probably should have.
Yeah.
But
well,
nothing.
Here's the thing. Here's the reason I asked that, Corey. Is a lot of encounters when it comes to the demonic. A lot of people, usually something has happened to open up the ability for that demon to be welcome to attacking you in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't necessarily have to be anything you personally have done or said or anything. It could be somebody else sending it to you. So it could be an argumentative person that you encountered that day or that week. It could be anything really, to bring forth that negativity and that darkness to attack you. But typically when you're dealing with a powerful demonic force, they're not going to technically give you their real name. Okay. And being that she gave you her real name, that tells me that maybe she's a lesser type of a demon spirit.
Yeah, that's what I talked to a guy who's a lot more knowledgeable about that than me. His name's Jason McLean. He comes on Texas Front Porch a lot, and he's really, he's the guy that when I describe something happening, he gives me the definition and the spelling of it, and that's what he said.
Yeah,
it's a
I know
lesser.
Jason.
Okay, he's pretty smart dude. I really like talking to him. That's what I said. I'm here to describe what happens, and Jason will give me the definition. But that's what he said. It was a lesser
for you.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think? That these lesser demons were trying to accomplish, though. I mean, do you think that they were trying to harm you to the point where they were trying to influence you physically by maybe taking you over, or do you think it was just some kind of a way to strike fear into you so they could get more energy?
I think the first one, like you said, was a lesser demon, but the second one, I think it was really up to no good. I think something was trying to eat me or pull my soul. Yeah, they don't snatch you out of your body for no reason. I mean, this thing, it happened fast. Yeah. But, had I not known from sleep paralysis and stuff that what was happening was opposite of that, the sensation, because I mean, like that, I knew what was going on.
Right.
I mean, this all happened in less than a second. It couldn't have been over longer than 2 seconds.
Amazing. Yeah.
I got it.
Now you hear about yeah, go ahead.
Like for me, instances, and like most of the time, I pretty much every single time, except for a few times when I've had sleep paralysis, I can feel the negative entity in the room. Is that the same similar feeling you've had during your deal, or has it been completely different for you?
The first one, when the female, I felt her in the room. The second one got me by complete surprise. But like I said, I think because of all the sleep paralysis that I experienced, staying calm, learning to stay calm, and knowing what the sensation felt like, because I hadn't had sleep paralysis in a long time since I started meditative breathing and all that stuff. I quit snoring, everything. But this thing came in fast, hooked my arm fast, and jerked me to my feet out of my body like that. And I knew what was going on immediately. Within 1 second,
Yeah.
I'd
Do
already.
you remember what? Yeah. Do you remember what physically characteristics it looked like?
No, because I rebuked it in the name of Jesus Christ so fast that when it let go, then I turned and all I seen was just a glimmer. I didn't get to. I really don't even know if I saw it actually. You know,
Right.
it's like it said, it happened so fast, but I knew what to do. You know, that's my dad asked me one day. He goes, "Why do you even care about all this stuff?" And I said, "I don't have a choice."
Yeah. You're attracting
You know,
it. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I know. I don't expect you to understand that because you know nothing about this." But
Mm-hmm.
he goes, "Why would you even want to find out these things?" And I said, "I'm telling you right now, all of the research and all the people I've talked to and I've listened to about the dog men helped me when I had my encounter because I knew I was going to have one."
Yeah. Knowledge is power, folks.
Yes,
Knowledge is absolute
yes,
power. Okay.
yes.
And when I tell you, or Eric tells you, or Dr. Dennis Carroll tells you, or Corey tells you, do not show fear, stand in your faith, we mean every bit of it. Okay. Every bit of it. Because if you show fear, they will feed off of that fear and they will only become stronger. Okay. Plain and simple.
You know, I know this with the dog man encounter I had. If I had never started looking into it and learning all the things I could, and I listened to everybody. You know, the saying "by myself but not alone." Everything anybody ever has told me or taught me, whether it's useful or not, I've got it right there.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and but you got to think fast. But I'm telling you, had I not done all the research I had and listened to all the people I've listened to, I would have freaked out when I had the dog man encounter. You know, I mean, the only thing that I was trying to wrap my head around what I was seeing because I wasn't expecting it to happen when it did. There was no weird feeling before this. You know, it just it was weird how I noticed it is what's weird because two tree limbs were crossing like this, and it made a little pyramid, and that sucker was looking at me through that hole right there. You know, and that's two limbs from two different trees, and that's why I zeroed in on that spot.
I got another question for you, bro.
Yeah.
Whenever you was rebuking him in the name of Jesus, you know, like for me, many times in the sleep paralysis state, I can't speak. It takes me rebuking like 4 or 5 times before I can slowly, barely start talking. And then the more I do it, the louder to the point where I'm actually shouting to drive it away. Is it similar? Was it similar to that when you had it happen?
No, this okay. When I had sleep paralysis, I had that problem right there. The same I couldn't enunciate or speak words, but this was opposite of sleep paralysis. The sensation. This is like compare falling to flying. you know, jumping to falling, getting pulled to your feet or getting pulled down to the bottom through your bed. That's what sleep paralysis feels like. It feels like it's pulling you. To me, it feels like it's pulling you down into the mattress. Not so much anything on top of me. It's a weight, but it also feels like it's pulling. And this was the complete opposite of that. You know how the sensation when you think you're falling, you know, that everybody has sometimes? You'll be nodding off in your chair, whatever, and think you're falling. It was opposite of that.
Yeah.
It was like you're laying on your back and all of a sudden you just get catapulted to your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah,
it's always felt like something was sitting on me and holding me down.
Being jerked from your body.
Hey, imagine that sensation, but the complete opposite. It's hard to describe. Basically, it like if you were laying there asleep on your side and something hooked your arm right here, and before you know it, had you snatched to your feet like something real strong. But I knew I came out of my body. It's crazy. I mean, that's the fastest I've ever rebuked anything in the name of Jesus Christ. I can tell you that. I've had to do it twice. And this is one of them. And it let go so fast. I'm telling you right now, it works.
Well,
no doubt about it.
Yeah, one of the things I was always requested to do in my paranormal investigations was always removing whatever it was that was bothering the individuals that lived within a certain place. And a lot of the times what they felt was demonic was definitely dark, but it wasn't really demonic. If it was demonic at all, it was a very lower level demonic entity. There was a couple paranormal investigations that I did that it was very demonic. I mean, we're talking next level. And in order for me to remove it, I literally went into a spiritual battle with these things. And you literally have to. And that's where I learned that when you go into something that's dealing with the supernatural and the negative part of the supernatural, you have to go in with that attitude of not having any fear, not even letting them put that tingle down your spine. Okay. Because the moment you do, that shows them that you have a weakness and they will feed upon that weakness. Okay. So, and that's why a lot of people, they revert right away. They go right to invoking, in the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you, because that name has power. Okay. As every one of you do. Okay. I've always been one, the way I was brought up, being Native American and all that, and delving into the darkest of the arts. I've always been taught that I basically am a dual soul, which means my soul that was given to me at the time of my creation was a dual purpose soul. Okay. It's a soul that is half light and half dark. Okay. But there's a reason for that darkness part of the soul. And that's because you're being tested and tried your entire life growing up. You're being punished. You're being bullied. You're being, hungry. You're wondering, where you're going to get, where you're going to get anything to survive. Okay. And that's the way the majority of my life has gone until recently. Well, even today, I mean, struggling with what I have disability wise, Everything is a struggle for a dual soul. It's bad enough if you're just a single soul of the light, okay, because you're constantly on the guard against the evil or the darkness. Whereas a dual soul, you are basically having the darkness knowledge in your soul. Kind of, it helps you because you have the ability, believe it or not, a dual soul individual of the light and the dark has the ability, if they have that divine spark within them, nurtured enough and developed enough to actually take that evil and change it into good. It's like injecting an anti-venom into a snake bite. That's about the best way to do it. That's what a dual soul individual is to the demonic. Okay. And the angelic, the divine angelic part of that soul and the angels that are of the light aren't concerned with that dark part of the soul. They don't see it as a threat because they know that you are here being a dual soul to help educate and to take on the darkness more than the light souls are. If that makes sense, it's just a breakdown of the difference between certain people. Okay. You see a lot of paranormal people, and Eric, I mean, you've seen it too. I know you've seen it, Corey. A lot of paranormal people, as soon as they hear a loud bang or a thump, they scream and they run.
I can't
Okay.
stand that.
You know, first off, if you're a paranormal investigator, you've got to be able to discern noises and thumps and creaks and groans and moans and screams and hollers and, scrapes and, scratches and all that stuff. Okay. But you should be professional enough not to show any fear. Okay. And so many of them out there get out there into the paranormal field and they're big and tough and bad. There's a couple of them I could mention that were
Oh,
on main TV.
I bet I know
I'm
who
sure,
you.
yeah, I'm sure you all
I
know.
know who you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm sure you all know exactly who I'm talking about. And it's to me, it's ironic how somebody can investigate the paranormal and be so afraid. Because if you ever do come across a demonic entity, a real full-blown demonic entity during a paranormal investigation, they're going to eat you alive. They're going to eat you alive, spit you out, and step on you and lay waste to you.
Your fear is like a big juicy pork chop.
Exactly. Hanging around your neck. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that but like I said, man, you gotta take every bit of knowledge you can be taught and put it in that box. In that box of tools. Maybe I guess you could call it your spiritual weapon box, or but
yep, exactly. Exactly.
I honestly, both of the encounters I had, I feel like the first one was a temptation with the female, the feminine. Because, okay, my ex, she had just left earlier that evening to go back to Texas. But there's been a couple of times where she changed her mind, turned around, and came back. And I thought that's what was happening at first when I felt this female presence crawl on in my bed. Right. And I said, and I asked her name, and I said, I called out my girlfriend's name, like asking if it was her. And this female, whatever it was, said, "No, but it's okay. I'm Nama." And I thought, Nama. And I looked at her. You know how something's darker than darkness? Like it looks like it's absorbing light. But
that's exactly
she had a little, okay, but there was little sparkles in it, in the shape.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost like little stars or diamonds or something. That's what I do remember seeing.
Well, think about this. So think about the whole connection to the celestial events above our heads. You know, demons, just because they're labeled a demon doesn't mean that they can't have that angelic spark still in them. Okay. Doesn't mean that they're 100% dark. It just means that they went a certain way. All right. And, a lot of people, we tend to label everything demonic and dark, and especially in paranormal investigations. And we really shouldn't do that, because there are just as many human spirits in the paranormal hauntings and stuff that are just as evil as a lower level demon, and can pretty much make you think that they're a lower level demon when you're doing investigations. So there's a lot to it, and by you seeing the what you called sparkles in that dark entity tells me that that entity wasn't completely convinced that it was totally 100% dark, if that makes sense to you. I just I don't know how to describe it, but it's like me having that part of me in me too.
We talked about that, a couple of weeks ago, about the duality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and people forget, in the Bible it says that not only did the watchers who were banned from returning to heaven, but the fallen as well kept their status and kept their rank and kept their power. That's something that when people speak about demons, they don't bring that up. They still have their angelic powers. They still have their angelic abilities. They're just no longer allowed back into heaven. So what you're saying here makes sense. And I've often debated amongst myself and tried to debate with preachers going, if these fallen or these watchers regret what they did, would they not try to seek Yahuwah's
mercy and grace,
blessings to return? Yeah. I've often wondered that.
Yeah, exactly. And there was an instance in the Bible too where an angel did actually get from becoming one of the casted out angels, that was actually allowed to come back in to heaven, in the Creator's grace. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I forget which book it's in, but I'll have to research it more. I had its name, the angel's name. God, what was it?
It wasn't Metatron, was it?
No,
give me a second. I'll look it up, brother.
I think it started with an E, Eric.
Let me ask you this. Do y'all know, and I haven't studied it enough to know this, but were there giants that helped Noah build the ark?
Well, yes, there was. Help? Yeah, and it's been said also. It's been said also that Noah, recently it's come out that Noah was actually of the part, like as big as it could be, as tall as 15 feet tall. So to me, that's a giant. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's what I'd say.
According to this, it says that Sariel, Sariel,
That's
is a fallen angel who repented and was allowed to return to heaven, becoming a
That's
guide for human souls. Another figure, Namtel, is also sometimes described as a fallen angel who returned to heaven, carrying a secret about the future.
All right. Samael, that's the one. The first one is what I was thinking of. I remember the name now.
All right,
But yeah,
Sariel.
Sariel. Yeah,
Okay.
Sariel.
Okay, and I can put the names in the comments for you guys if you want to look it up yourselves. So give me a minute. Let me copy and paste this. I might be able. I'll just copy and paste this.
You know, but like you said, the second one that snatched me out of bed, you know, it was trying to scare me. You know, I don't know what plans it had for me because it didn't work out too well. You know, I know what works. And I know what works fast.
All right. Exactly.
But, you know, honestly, I think if I hadn't said that fast, I don't want to imagine what it was trying to do.
Well, I think that they take over us. I think that what some of these demonic entities are trying to do is they're trying to figure out how to get back in by using the soul spark within us to get back into heaven. If that makes sense, then this is just logical thinking at it. Okay. Because when you think about demonic possession, it takes a lot to cast out the demon that has taken over somebody physically. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, it could take hours, it could take days, hell, it could even take a week, you know.
It could take months.
You know, even
years.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, the Dene people, when they do their ceremonies, you know, on the painted sand, to withdraw that demonic entity from the native person that's lying there on the painting, they literally absorb that demonic entity in the painting, and then that's why they wipe away the sand painting immediately after the person's removed from it, so that entity cannot stay there. It has to go back to where it came from. Well, it's the same thing with the Catholic faith. It's the same thing with the Protestant faith. Whenever a clergy person is called in, and even a medicine person is called in to handle a demonic spirit, and in my culture, we call them tricksters. Okay. And they are tricksters. Okay. They are tricksters. And I can't tell you the hundreds of times I have talked to other people. In fact, one of them was on a podcast earlier today with a friend of mine on Facebook that does a UFO, basically a radio show about UFOs. And the first time I met this other person, investigator, podcaster, or whatnot, I told him flat out that it was a trickster spirit, a shapeshifter trickster spirit that he was dealing with in his encounter. And he never made that connection because he didn't have that knowledge, basically, of the native culture and how trickster spirits operate. We don't call them tricksters because they're cute little bunnies, everybody. Okay, it's not the Easter bunny we're talking about or the tooth fairy. They're called trickster spirits because they use their powers to shapeshift into forms to seduce you, to take you over, to make you do things, you know, to provoke you into harming yourself. They do these things because they feed off of you. Does that make sense? The same way we tell you guys not to show fear to the demonic is exactly what we're supposed to do as native people. We don't show fear. Okay. We stand strong and we take our medicine bags, we hold them strong to us, we take our cross and we hold it dear to us. And if you believe in Jesus Christ, you can even invoke that name. Okay. But don't show fear because that just makes them stronger. And anybody that's dealt with a trickster spirit knows that. Okay. Because they will feed off of your fear.
Hey, gentlemen, before I forget again, we had a question earlier. I'm glad I started to save it. I want to hit it up before we get way off the topic of what we originally started.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get off here pretty quick.
Do you think
My phone's about
aliens,
to die.
Bigfoot, etc., know about angelic beings? I think they do.
Well, yes, I think everything that has been educated in this world, in this 3D world, has to have some knowledge of angelic beings. But whether they call it angelic or they see it as angelic and not another species coming down that's more powerful than they are, you know, I mean, how would you account? Compare it to all the accounts of like people seeing the red-eyed cryptids, okay, and how evil those encounters are, okay, always, okay. It's like I've always said, I don't believe that a red-eyed cryptid is 100% flesh and blood. I think that they could be either a shapeshifter, trickster spirit, or they could be some kind of a demonic type of an entity taking over the physical form of that cryptid, just like a human body can be possessed.
Or, the red glowing eyes can be your fear can be what's fueling those glowing red eyes. There's 1,000 different scenarios, possibilities.
Exactly. Well, is anybody else wanting to come on, Eric?
Yeah, come on, somebody. Oh, William, did you get my email? William, I sent you an email. The owl feather that showed up at on the table when my mother passed disappeared.
Uh-huh.
I asked my dad, I said, "Where's the feather?" I said, "Where's the feather?" And he goes, "I thought you got it." I said, "No." He goes, "I haven't messed with it."
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too you got to consider too, and this is for Soundwave. Another thing you got to consider too is if Bigfoot and the forest people, the forest tribes, didn't know of angelic beings, and the native people didn't know of it, why did we put such high value in feathers? Why did we, as indigenous people, have our most representative person in our nation, in our Oyate, wear the most feathers? Think about it. Because it's a representation of that angelic state of being. Yeah, I've got, trust me.
I made this for my mother.
Yeah. Yep. I've got my eagle feathers over there and my red.
This one's made out of metal.
Up here.
This is a casted metal feather.
So, because you hear of all the accounts of Bigfoot, gifting feathers. If they didn't believe in it, and that's one of the things that I tell people to do a lot to make that connection to the supernatural is I'll tell them to take red ribbon, like I told the ECBRO recently to do at their camp out, and tie a feather to the red ribbon and tie it off to a pine tree or a tree in an area where they're having activity, because it makes that connection. It's something that we as indigenous people have learned over our thousands of years of encountering and living amongst the forest people and the Bigfoot and the Sasquatch, that they in turn learned from us that, hey, feathers mean something. It's a representation of spiritual strength. It's a warrior's prowess to wear a feather a certain way. Okay. And the number of feathers too, and the way the feathers are decorated and trimmed off and stuff represents a warrior's way. So our belief in feathers being spiritual, as far as indigenous goes, could play a big role into why Bigfoot actually believes that too.
I've been told that.
It's interesting.
Go ahead.
A couple of weeks ago, when I was down in Joe Bald doing an investigation down there, I came across what I thought was a crow feather at first. It was black on one side. On the bottom side, it was white. And something told me to pick it up, so I did, and I placed tobacco in place of where the feather was. But yeah, they have significance. I just never seen a black feather like this, where it was black on the top and white on the bottom. It was unique. And I can't tell you what evidence we found there, because I'm waiting to go on live with DA to talk about it. But it's interesting you say that, because it fits with everything that happened at Joe Bald.
Yeah, and it's the truth too. I mean, everybody's talking about how terrible the woo is with the whole Bigfoot community and the whole cryptid community to begin with. Well, I got news for you. These cryptids have been here a lot longer than humanity's been here. So, when you're dealing with a real flesh and blood cryptid, they're going to know just as much about the supernatural as you do as a human being. Okay?
They know who the Almighty is.
Yeah, they do. They know that they were
call
created.
him the great creator, is how they know him.
Exactly.
And they know Jesus. They don't know him by his name. They call him the one who gave all.
Mm-hmm.
So they know. They're much more spiritually connected than a lot of people think to the earth. And hey guys, my phone's about dead. It was awesome coming on talking to y'all. I sent you a photo, William, with that email.
Okay, thank you, Corey, and we'll talk later.
Okay, see you, Eric.
Take it easy, Corey. See you, buddy. Everybody, let's welcome Joanne to the stage. Well, let me give her a second there. She's kind of looking away. See how she is. I see what it is. She's coming backstage and she's looking away. No, there she is. Everybody, let's welcome Joanne to the stage. Hey, Joanne. Uh-oh.
Hi, Joanne. Uh-oh, she froze up.
We can't hear you. No, she's moving. Just can't hear her. Your sound's not working, sweetheart. Or your mic. Oops. Still can't hear.
You might have to log out and log back in.
Yeah. Nope, still nothing. Try to do a refresh on your browser. Let it reboot. It's going to log you out and then it'll log you back in. See if that doesn't fix it. But something's going on with your mic's not working.
Which doesn't surprise me with the way we're talking about the supernatural tonight. So, I mean, every time we do stuff always happens. I'll get into. I'll tell you what happened even before the podcast. I was sitting here playing that song, and I had it on, on loop, the new intro music to this podcast. And I had this feeling of these wings coming around and wrapping around me and coming out along the sides and reaching out over the table in front of me that the laptop is on and all that, and the coffee maker and all that, stretching out all the way to the other side of the room, and almost like it was embracing me, giving me a hug. And as soon as I felt that and saw that in my mind's eye happening, the computer glitched out on me.
Mm-hmm.
Started cracking and popping and all kinds of weird, bizarre stuff. So
look at all the trouble
cool,
I had tonight trying to come on. I mean, between the computer not let me log in, taking forever to load, having sound issues. I mean, just one thing right after another. I was getting pretty pissed. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then my headphones decided they want to crap out and not work on me, which is weird because I heard the music clear as day, but your voice barely a word. Try to say something, Joanne. Yep, still nothing. Have you hit the little refresh circle arrow at the top of your browser? You may have to do that and refresh because it's yeah.
Make sure she gives permission to use the mic and the camera when she signs in.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can hear us still, Joanne, try to do that, sweetie. Okay. Oh, nope. Never mind. I'm looking at the wrong screen, which is, I forget it's delayed on that end. Ask her to give a thumb up. Hey, Juno. Ask her to thumb up if she can hear you. Yeah. Well, she can hear us because she did what I asked her to do. And everybody, once again, I want to say sorry for not. Heck yeah, sorry for not putting your comments up. Your comments was literally blocking us. So this got that little screen down here. We're just utilizing that tonight. But I noticed the comments was blocking either Corey or me or William out, and I was like, well, I'm just going to stop putting them up. And once again, I put it in the chat earlier. YouTube has changed again. The little bell icon looks like the private icon. So when you go in to make sure you're subscribed to the content creator that you like, make sure that bell is set to all and not private. They've changed it. It used to be all was white. Now it's clear, just like private was.
Right. Okay, here's Joanne again. Let's see.
Oh, I haven't got her on mine. Oh, there she is. I've got a delay. All right. Let's try this again.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Good.
Yay.
All right. All right, Joanne, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? How are you guys? And hello, chat.
We're still kicking. It's good to see you, and we have talked quite a bit about some of the stuff that you have going on. So tell us, have you had any angelic encounters or other encounters along that lines?
Well, my grandfather did. My grandfather had received 21 units of blood. He had lost a lot of blood. He had diverticulosis, and they rushed him to the hospital. And they just kept giving him blood, and the surgeon couldn't seem to save him. So they gave him his last rites, and he just hung on. And during the night, he said an Asian woman came by and held his hand the entire night and comforted him and smiled at him. And she was a beautiful woman, just all in white. And when he told me that, I asked the nurses who was on last night. I'd like to thank her, and they said there was no. I described her, and they said no, there was no Asian women on last night. So I said, okay, that must have been his guardian
Exactly.
angel or something. But he felt
Yeah,
so comforted.
I believe it was an angelic visit, because that's exactly what happened to me with what I saw standing in the doorway of my hospital room when I had my
Yes.
first cancer, you know, and she literally smiled at me and told me her name was Mary. She didn't say the mother of Jesus. She didn't say Mary Magdalene. She just said Mary.
Hmm.
And she was I can still picture her today standing there. And then as soon as she told me everything was going to be okay, she this calm came over me, and she smiled, and she just faded away. So
She,
it
she
was,
did what she
yeah.
had to do. She relaxed you and let you know that it was going to be okay. And then
So
she
yeah,
left.
I'm a firm believer in the whole angelic type of a thing. I really am. And there's been instances where people have reported encountering people asking for change, spare change and stuff, to even clean like windshields and stuff at a gas station when somebody's traveling, so they can get something to eat. And some of the occurrences that turn the person down, um you know, drive away, and they have something bad happen to their vehicle further on down the line. But yet we had visited South Carolina when we were younger, our family, our kids were just little kids, and there was this older gentleman with a white beard, kind of heavy set, wearing dirty clothes, and he was cleaning windshields off and stuff in the gas station we stopped at in South Carolina. And I didn't have much money to say, because I was, I didn't have like, but I had a jar full of change, and it was like probably $6 in change and stuff, for like tolls and stuff, that kind of stuff whenever you travel. And I didn't give it to him right away. I kind of turned him down, which made me feel bad. But I saw him walking away, and I drove up to him, and I said, "Hey, I don't have much to give you." I said, "But you don't have to clean the window." I said, "Hold out your hands." And he held out his hands, and I dumped all the change in his hands. And we
Yes.
went and drove away, and he said, "God bless you," as we drove away. And I swear to God that we got onto the road exiting the gas station, and he was gone. He wasn't
Wow.
standing there anymore. So, I'm a firm believer that angelic beings can walk among us literally and test us every day of our lives.
I always give, even if I'm broke, which is most of the time, I always give because I feel guilty if I don't. So I guess it's kind of selfish in a way. But I
Mhm.
also always say to myself, like that song goes, what if God was one of us? Just a
Yep.
slob like one of us, You never know. It
Exactly.
could be an
Exactly.
angel, it could be someone just testing you, or it could be just someone who, is down on their luck. And the last time I
Exactly.
gave them meat, it was outside of a coffee shop, and the guy was just sitting there on the cold cement. It was about a year ago. And I said, now, if I give you money, it's not for drugs or alcohol, correct? And he said, no, come in with me, buy me something to eat. I'm really hungry. So that's what we did. And
Hmm.
I said, okay, good. Because I don't want to support a bad habit. And
Exactly.
thanks a lot. And I
Exactly.
felt good. I was like, wow. Because normally I would just like give them the money, like, leave me alone. I'm scared. I don't know you. But this time, I was in a public place and I felt more comfortable. And I'm changing now over the years too. As I get older, I'm not as scared anymore. Not
Exactly. And you shouldn't, and that's the one thing I try to explain to everybody every chance I get is, you know, we're not put here to fear anything. We're not created to handle all the evil that's in the world. Some of us are, and that's why I believe in the dual soul type of a thing, the duality soul.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times when I get a certain way, it's whether you call it stubborn or angry or upset or whatnot sometimes, which every guy does basically. But with me, it's a little different because it's more of a protective type of a response towards, you know, to put out that aggressive nature because I'm so animate about it being done a certain way because I've already seen it happening a certain way, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. And the outcome of me not speaking up harshly, um, that may offend people, um, could have an adverse reaction, you know, on that person that I'm speaking to. And that's why sometimes I get so animate about how I say things and present things to people because we're put here as a learning process.
That's what I believe too.
And the majority of people that walk in this world, they don't have a duality soul. Okay, they have a light soul is what I call it, where it's more of the initial spark of from the light. Okay, not from both the light and the dark. So it's more of an angelic type of a thing, more of a good thing. So they're constantly um, not they're constantly having to learn how to handle the darkness their entire life. And it's like they're the ones that are the ones that are being attacked the most and stuff because the darkness doesn't like to mess with people that have the duality soul because they know that they have their soul has the ability to undo the darkness out of them. Okay, kind of like removing a demonic possession from a human's body. um, so, and that's just something that I've learned over 60 plus years, you know, that duality souls have that capability. So, but what do you think, Eric?
Oh, I agree. And the thing too is like for me, the only type of angelic confirmation that I can say that I actually have is, and I'll still say it to this day. I literally saw Jesus sitting on a couch across from my bunk bed. You know, I slept on the top. My half brother slept on the bottom back when we were homeless, and one of our church families took us in, and I remember vividly still to this day. I mean, he was light skinned, long dark brown hair, long dark brown beard and mustache. He had a white robe with the blue sash, and I remember waking up and looking at him saying, "Jesus, is that you?" And he grinned at me and disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
I think they walk among us all the time. I've seen things I don't know how to explain it. There is somebody there. Now, I can't confirm this is angelic or not, but something was bad was about to happen, and someone there was preventing it. And when I looked for them again, they were gone. I've seen that in the war zones. I've seen that back here in in the whole homeland. I mean, I've seen it in all different places. I believe this stuff actually happens. I believe that Yeshua walks among us. I believe that angels walk among us. We just don't recognize them as that type of being, either because they don't want us to, or our mind will not accept it because of the brainwashing that we had through
Well,
public education.
well, let me ask everybody this. Let me ask you and Joanne this, and Corey and everybody in the chat. Do you feel that just as much as a demonic entity can possess a body, a human, do you feel that an angelic angel can also inhabit a human body and to help out, to, you know what I mean? Not be an earth angel, but to give them enhanced abilities, to see things, to feel things, to help out, you know, and to be a stronger conduit between humanity and the creator.
Definitely for me,
I'll let you, yeah.
I believe.
For me, I believe they have the ability. I don't believe they necessarily do it because God gave us the choice of free will. So it's up to us to decide what happens and what doesn't. Not saying that they don't. I'm kind of on that. I believe they have the ability, unless it's an absolute no other choice scenario. Would they do it? Probably. I don't think they do it as much as demons do, because demons do it to control you to gain your soul, where angels are not here for that. They're just here for slight guidance, but more protection. They are servants, and because we have the gift of free will that was given to us by Yahuwah, I don't believe they do. I could be completely wrong on that.
What about that video that everybody's seen on social media about the guy that was walking along the sidewalk, and another guy came up behind him, tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around, and just as he turned around, this tractor trailer came around, and that gate on the back of the truck swung out and almost hit him. And if that guy behind him hadn't tapped him on the shoulder to make him aware, he would have been struck by the truck, you know, the gate on the truck.
I believe they do that. That's not a possession. That is more of a deterrent. Hey, something bad's about to happen. I'm going to save your butt. And that's kind of where that happened. That's not a possession. That's something that's completely different. That I believe they actually do on a daily basis. And I think that is where the theory of guardian angel came from, was because of that right there.
Right. Exactly. Fascinating. All right. Well, any other encounters that you have had, Joanne, at all? Or
Well, you know about those. I've been sending you some pictures, and Eric too, right? Some photos and videos. What do you guys think?
I think you're definitely being visited. That's for sure. I
They were just out like 2 nights ago again.
Yeah.
But today, everything was quiet.
Yeah. And it happens that way too, though. That's the thing. I'll have a day where nothing will happen whatsoever. And then it's like that night that I go to sleep, and it can wake me up at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and things will just everything kind of shifts, and supernatural things start to happen. And it happens throughout the entire day. Today I was sitting in the living room, and I was laying on the couch, you know, resting, and I sat up and I said, I saw you, and I saw this shadow walk through the kitchen. And I say stuff like that out loud all the time, not thinking that the people around me are going to think I'm freaking nuts, you know? And I do that out in public too, where I'll say, I saw you, or, you know, you can't hide from me. I see everything, you know. I say that kind of stuff out in public all the time. And sometimes people turn around and they look at you like, who in the hell are you talking to?
What did you see me do?
And then you try to explain it to people that you have this gift to, you know, to communicate. It's just like the other day I walked out of the house, and I haven't seen like a praying mantis, you know, in the last month. It seemed like they all just, you know, it got colder, you know, on some nights. And I think that they just, you know, started, you know, making their, you know, laying their eggs and doing whatever they do and die off. Yesterday morning, there I am. I go outside about 11 o'clock in the morning, and walking down the handrail to the front steps of the door is a brown praying mantis, and he's walking right towards me. and I start talking to him, and he stops and he cocks his head at me, and he stands there and listens to me talk to him. And then I help him up onto, onto a higher part of the screened porch to where he can go, or she can go and make her, lay her eggs and stuff or whatnot, and do whatever they do. And, it's just, it's weird like that. I tell everybody all the time that it's like insects. They come to me just like animals do. Wildlife does the same thing. And it's really, it's a weird gift to have, because a lot of people look at you like, if you're talking to I have this one bumblebee that comes around all the time. I named him Buddy the Bumblebee. And he always comes around, and he'll buzz like right by my head, and he'll stay there, and it'll be like 5-10 minutes. He'll just stay there, and he'll move when I walk down the sidewalk or something with me, and he'll stay right there, and I'll talk to him, and he'll be like buzzing, and like he's actually listening. Well, I had a walking stick the other day do the same thing to me. I haven't seen a walking stick in years. Okay, it's been about 5-6 years since I saw a walking stick, and this one was right up by my front door, right above where we take care of the outside cats that aren't ours. And I started talking to it, and sure enough, it cocks its head and listens to me, and I take it and put it someplace safe. And it's a weird thing to understand, that when you are at a higher vibration, a higher frequency, a lot of people, that when they hear that ringing in their ears, or that buzzing in their ears, or the hum, they don't realize that is a higher frequency being trying to communicate with them. Okay. And I've always been a firm believer in that. That that tinnitus that everybody says they have is the supernatural trying to communicate with people. I'm a firm believer in that. And we have been educated to not believe that these things happen around us, that we just don't have the ability to see most of the time. And in fact, they do happen around us every minute of the day. And I think people are finally starting to realize that.
I'm sorry. Once you start opening your mind up and your eyes, and really seeing what you're looking at and hearing what you're listening, and just keeping your mind open, I think you do hear and see a lot more. I always hear a high pitched sound, so maybe that's what they're trying to talk to me. But what I've been dealing with has been a little bit rough. 2 nights ago, the cat goes crazy, and she's right next to me here. It's my little feral. I don't know if you can see her. That's Tabby. And she goes crazy because she could hear outside, and it's not just the animals, it's people. And so I let it go for a while. I shut off the light. I take the phone and either put on video or photo, and I take a picture, and I get things. In the daytime, I see people, and it just started out with soldiers. And actually, I don't want to bore you, and I don't want to take up the whole show, but I just want to say, when it first started, it was the beginning of the summer. I used to sit out on the porch with the other 2 cats. My mother has 2 giant cats, and they're very hairy, and so I'm always combing them out there. And I look up to look for the deer, and instead of the deer going up the path, there's like $1 million, almost $2 million it sold for a house up in the woods. And there's a path that goes up that way, and the deer usually go up that way. My mom and I used to watch all the time when she was home. But anyway, I saw soldiers. So I thought of you guys. I'm like, well, you 2 were both in the military. I'm listening to you guys all the time. Maybe it's your comrades. Maybe it's them. So I started taking pictures. And then I was like, well, maybe they're guarding something. Like what? Maybe they're guarding the guy up in the house, the $1 million, $1,800,000 it was. the house. Maybe they're guarding them, or maybe it's someone that heard me talk about Bigfoot and they're looking for Bigfoot themselves and they found out where I live or whatever. Like all these things. I was trying to open my mind to the possibilities, never thinking that I'm seeing things because I know I'm not. I have it on film. And then I thought, I mentioned it to someone and they said, oh, they're probably just hunters. And I realized that if I talked about it, people are going to like laugh at me, which they did. And
brush it off. Yeah, is what they'll do. Yeah.
Even my own
Yeah.
family, I told my daughter, and she was like, Mom, I don't see it. I said, well, you're legally blind without your glasses. I see it. Believe me, if you were here, you would see it.
I think that some people don't have the capability of seeing it because they don't believe it exists.
Exactly. So I was like, well, maybe they're filming a movie because I started seeing people that didn't look normal, like monster looking people and things. And then so I was like, okay, this is more than just soldiers. Now the man next door is a veteran and he has these two skeletons hanging in the tree year round and they're like glow in the dark. And it shows men climbing the tree and he has a big American flag. You know, he's a vet. And so never forget, you know, lest we forget. So I'm thinking, well, maybe they're attracted to that. I don't know what it is. And I even told I saw the doctor last week and I knew my daughter would probably rat on me because it's her doctor too. So I told her, I said, this is what I'm seeing. And even she said, well, you know, maybe you should ease off that gabapentin. So I stopped taking it.
I think that possibly maybe there's something even attached to that ground that maybe you are seeing the spirits of deceased soldiers, possibly.
Yes, I really do.
So,
I don't think I've sent you any pictures of the soldiers.
Yeah,
but that's how it started.
Yeah, there's a lot of sightings. I'm not sure where you are exactly, but I know that in the Sharon, PA area, there's a lot of reported sightings of military soldiers and stuff, especially in World War II uniforms.
In World War II, interesting. Yeah, some of them I saw in World War II uniforms, or like they weren't Vietnamese, wasn't camo or anything like that. But initially, I saw the camo. So that's why I said, okay, maybe they're hunters. But then I did see a few in weird historical uniform. And I thought, wow, you know, because they had like those helmets. So I don't know. And then I was thinking, well, it's always been very magical here. And before all of this, I used to see little people at the beginning of those, like I'd say June, May and June. They were
Corey's
nice.
got a question for you, Joanne.
Okay.
Corey's got a question for you, Joanne. It says, Joanne, do they do the same thing every time you see them?
The soldiers or the
soldiers,
the weird elementals. The soldiers, no, they're just standing there, or they move, and then if they turn their head and like they see me, they'll just stay that way. But I like see a profile sometimes. Sometimes I just see them looking down, or just their silhouette, because they cut down all the trees on the other side of the path, so it's very easy to see. That's how I was able. I was even looking for them, but I was looking for deer, and then when I saw a man, I was like, oh my gosh. And then when I kept seeing them, I said, well, they probably think I'm like a nosy person, but this is bizarre. So then so they're not always doing the same thing, no, and they look different.
Okay. Well, then they're not residual. Yeah, I know he was asking basically if they were residual energy, kind of like playing a video over and over again.
Yeah.
So doing the same thing.
Then I'll see ghosted out things, and they're like buried up to here, and then it's just their shoulders and their head. You know, I never talked about things that I've seen in the past. My daughters had premonitions, dreams, premonitory dreams. The time someone came in with a pew pew and into a movie theater and unalived all those people. The night before, she dreamt about it.
Wow.
Yeah. And she told me in the morning, she goes, I had a horrible dream. And then we turned on the news and they talked about it. And she says, the weird thing is the girl had said she had sushi. And so she read the story about it. And this one of the stories said the girls had all gone out and had sushi before they went to the movies. This was like a week later. She read a story. So she's had premonitory. And I missed your show about autistic kids, but my grandson is autistic, twice exceptional. And he used to say he saw my father. I never talked about my father. And when we were outside playing, he says, Grandpa Richie is here. I said, you know Grandpa Richie?
And he
Grandpa
probably was. He probably was. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you that there is a connection between disabilities. We as Native people have always called people that were autistic or were we always called them gifted. Okay, we never called them disabled or labeled them as being lame, or insufficient in any way, shape, or form. We always called them gifted, and we respected them, and we looked out for them.
That's
And
good. But
you
they
know,
weren't medicine men. They weren't the medicine men. They were different.
yeah,
Who were the
yeah.
people that sometimes they were different? They might have been gay or
There,
considered a little.
there's some instances in history where yes, there was. Um, we always labeled them as special. That were some younger men acted more like women than they did. They didn't want to go on hunts. They didn't want to go, and they wanted to stay and take care of the kids or wash the food up and gather food from the harvest or whatnot. They did womanly things, so we called them special.
Special.
But yeah, we never really ridiculed anybody. And to me, that says a lot when you take in consideration being Native American throughout all these thousands of years and all the indigenous cultures and how attached to the earth that they were and to the wildlife and to the spirit world that they were on a daily basis, a minute by minute change that could happen at any time in their walk in this life. And then you have outsiders coming to this land that don't take the word of the indigenous cultures that have lived here for thousands upon thousands of years about certain things. Okay, certain areas of land to avoid, certain mythical type creatures that are in legend and all that. The people that came here didn't want to believe that, and that's why I find it funny today that so many people are seeing these things.
Yeah. The veil is lifting, I guess, or thinning, as they
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
Maybe we're just having more of an open mind.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Well, Eric, is there anybody else that has anything that they want to talk about before we cut out of here? Because it's going on 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Haven't had anybody else comment they wanted to come on. One thing that Bounty and me was
Okay.
talking about earlier, this goes back to when you asked a question about angels possessing. I had an instance, and this has happened multiple occasions, but the most recent and probably the most profound one I've had was I had a good friend of mine. We'll just say he's Italian. His family is part of an organization, although he's not. We attended church together, and he's always had back issues. And one day we were talking. It was at summer camp, and I was doing security back then. Hey, Don. And I felt the need to pray for him. So I prayed for healing for him. And later on that night, interesting thing, later on that night, his stool had gave way and he fell. And then all of a sudden he wasn't on crutches no more and stuff like that. And he was talking about everything I did. And you know, I've always said this, and I'm a big believer in it. I didn't do crap for him. Yahuwah used me as a conduit to help heal him. And I think that's something we have to kind of consider, that we are used as a conduit sometimes. That's not a possession. We're used as like a tool for Yahuwah's will. And it was his will that this brother of mine would be healed after years and years and years of back issues and crutches, walkers, wheelchairs. I mean, years and years and years of this happening. I was just a conduit for him to be healed. And I think that is something that is that we're used as well. Once again, it's not a possession. It's just you're a tool. But, me and Bounty was kind of talking about that a little bit ago. So that's something we have to consider as well, is that is something we are used that way from time to time.
I would definitely not call you a tool, Eric. I would call you the conduit.
Either way, it doesn't sound too good.
But it's true, though. I mean, that's exactly what we are. I mean, even Jesus, when he was mortal and had lived in a mortal body, said, "All things are not done by me, but through me by thy Father." It's the same concept as what he does with us when we're healing others. He used Yeshua as a conduit to do these miracle things, because he gave up all his powers, his heavenly powers, and he was just a man here on earth. So, and I believe we are used in the very same way.
Exactly. Well, on that note, we are going to go ahead and just end the show tonight. Joanne, thank you for coming on. I want to thank Corey too for coming on, and of course the moderators in the chat. You guys are awesome and phenomenal. Big S on your chest, super people, and the whole chat family's been awesome. And what do I always say, guys? Question everything. You have that right. Okay. But the one thing you're going to do in this walk, in this life, especially when you're dealing with the supernatural, is don't show any fear and stick to your faith. Okay. Because faith and no fear is everything when you're walking in this world. Okay. So until tomorrow morning, we're going to be coming on, and we're going to be talking about bat squatch as a topic. And I will see everybody in the morning at 11 a.m. Eric, you want to let them know what you got going on tomorrow before we cut out?
So tomorrow is going to be campfire chats unless something comes up. And I apologize again for last week, y'all. I got sick. I ate something bad, and let's just say it would not have been good for me to be on a live. So that's why I had to cancel Sunday's show. I am talking with somebody to see if they wouldn't mind joining me on this Sunday show, but tomorrow's going to be campfire chats. I'm behind on doing videos, so I'm going to be working on a new veteran versus monster video. I haven't done one lately. I've got a topic picked out, so I'm going to try to get that done tomorrow as well. After I'm supposed to be receiving 14 chickens tomorrow, so it'll be after all that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on.
Okay. Miriam, good to see you in the chat. And since you have knowledge of the bat squatch, I might be asking you to come on tomorrow and tell us a little something. Okay. So join us tomorrow at 11 a.m. Same bat squatch time, same bat squatch channel. Okay. Question everything, everybody. Take care.
Peace, love, and blessings, everyone.
Midnight whispers on the city street, Shadows creeping where the lost souls meet, but I hear wings, yeah, cutting through the air. Invisible armies, they're everywhere. Gold halos guarding while the world spins wrong, protecting hearts where the weak grow strong. They're posted up, silent like a stone, but I know I'm never alone. He sends his angels, his mighty crew. They got my back, they're seeing me through. Wings of light, yeah. They break the dark, he sends his angel to shield my heart. When the storm roars and the night's so cold, I feel their warmth like stories told. Feathers brushing past my doubt and fear, a holy presence always near. They block the arrows, they light the way. They guard my soul through the hardest day. No cape, no mask, no comic book scene, just heaven soldiers, unseen but keen. Who's that whispering when I'm falling low? Who's that holding me when the pain won't go? Who's that shouting when the fight gets loud? Angels of God breaking through the crowd. Who's that whispering when I'm falling low? Who's that holding me when the pain won't go? Who's that shouting when the fight gets loud? Angels of God breaking through the crowd. Intended love is my tomb crew. They got my back, they're seeing me through. Wings of light, wings of light. They break the dark, he sends his angels to shield my heart.